Welcome to the RUCHED DRESS YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make a runched dress. It's also called a drawstring, as you can see the one that they use rope to draw at the sides. It's a keyhole design at the neckline. So kindly subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and click the notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make a ruched dress. For this tutorial I'll be using a lycra fabric, but the chalk is not showing well on the fabric, so I thought to just show us on the paper before I draft it on the fabric. Okay, so this is a pencil dress pattern. I already made my chest line. This is my chest line, my waistline. I'm not going to be using any dart for this because it's actually a fitted dress, so, and the fabric is stretchy. This is my chest line 8 inches, my waistline 16, my hip line 24, and it's actually a 3/4 dress, but my paper is not long enough and I don't have enough paper to join to it, so I'm just stopping it here. But actually I'm going to 45 inches. That's the actual measurement of the person I want to make this for. Okay, so I wanted to take my circumference measurement and I added 1.5 inch allowance to each of this, so just ignore this area. This is the actual measurement, and this shaded part is my allowance that I added. Okay, so now let's just quickly go into the neckline. So I want to show us how to draft neck. It's a turtle neckline, so it's not going to be that wide. For the front neckline I'll be working with, you can use 3 or 2.5 inches, but I don't really want it too wide at all, so I'm just working with maybe 2 3/4. I don't want it up to 3 inches, so I'm working with 2 3/4 inches here. This is my shoulder slope. I just went down here by 1 inch so that I can draw my armhole curve. And the depth for the front, I'm using, can use 2 or 2.5. For this I'm using 2.5 inches for the front depth, and for the back depth I'm using 1.25. You can also use 1 inch, or let's just use 1 inch for the back. So taking my cuff now, I'm going to connect it like this and like this for the front. So this is my back neckline and this is my front neckline. So that's about what we are drafting for this dress. Okay, it's not going to be having any zipper allowance. I'm just going to be making like a slash at the back so that it will be easy for the person to wear it, because it's still going to have like a bishop collar around the neckline. But the main thing that the front neckline has is like an open front. It has something like this. That's like this open front design at the chest area. So I'm just going to show us how we can do this with this illustration. So from my shoulder line, which is my starting point, I'm going to go down here by 4.5 inches. This actually depends on how open you want it to be. You can go by 4 or 5 or even 6 inches, but that may start exposing your boobs a little. So I think 4.5 is okay for me here. So I'll be going down here by 4.5 inches, and then for the opening I'll be doing just 2 inches. You can do more or less depending on what you want. So on my 4.5 inches mark, I'm going to go in here by 3.5 inches. Okay, so once I have the 3.5 inches, I want to be sure that it's on my 4.5 inches mark. So I'm just going to do that here, and then I'll take my ruler and make a straight line. So I hope we understand how I did this. From here I came there. Remember, this is my neckline, so this can actually also guide you. This is my front neckline, so you can decide by just looking at it where you want your opening to start from, where your front neckline stops. So maybe if you want it like 2 inches from where your neckline will, when your neckline, front neckline stops, you just measure 2 inches. So I think this is around 2 inches for me. Remember, we do 2.5. So if you want it lower, you can do 3, 4, or depending on what you want. For me, I'm using 2 inches from away from my neckline. So that is what I marked there, and I marked 3.5 inches there for my opening. If you want your opening to be really big, you can go as much as this. Remember, you have your armhole line as your guide. So I think 3.5 inches is okay for me. That is where I'm stopping here. And for my opening, I decided I want 2 inches because that is what I want. If you want something bigger, you can also work with that. So I have my 2 inches for my opening here. The next thing I'm just going to do is to connect from my 3.5 points back to my 2 inches opening using a curved ruler, because I don't want it too sharp around that area. So I'm just going to take in my curved ruler like this, and then I'm going to make a curve for my chest opening, and that is all I need to do. So I'm just going to cut out everything like this so that we can understand. So I'm going to cut out my keyhole now. I've cut out the side part of the dress, so I'm just cutting it out like this. So you can see how simple this is, and then I'm going to open it out for us to see what we have. So we can see what we have here. So at this point, if you feel this is too small for you, you want it deeper, or any adjustment that you wish to make to it, just need to fold it back and then go as deep as you want, and then connect it back. Or maybe you just want it broader, you can look at this. If you look at this, you can see that this is still far from my shoulder, from my armor cuff. If you wish for yours to be around this area, what you just need to do is just to fold it again, and then measure to wherever you want it to be, and then connect it to the opening that you want to use. So that is how we're going to be drafting this. I'm just going to take it over to my fabric now and cut it on my fabric, and then bring it back to show us. Okay, so remember I said my paper was not enough, so look, this is it here. My length that I want is 45 inches, so I think this is 24 inches. The hip line is 24 inches, so I have 46 inches here, and I'll be using the 1 inch to hem it. Okay, so I've cut this on my fabric. Now this is my back neckline, that's why it's small. I need to remove my back panel before I can cut out my front neckline and my keyhole pattern. So I've removed my back panel, and on the center back here I measured 4 inches and I slashed it open for my back opening so that the head can enter through it. So now I'm going to work on the front part of the dress, and I've placed my pattern on it. So I'm trying to trace out the neckline and also the keyhole. Okay, so I've cut out the keyhole and also the neckline now. So I'm just going to remove my pin and see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what we have. Remember, it is stretchy fabric, so it's kind of spreading. So the next thing now is just for me to hem this with a bias. I'm going to hem it here with a bias, and then I'm going to bring in my back bodice and then join it on the shoulder and on the side. So I'll hem this with the bias, and also hem my back opening with the bias. I'm going to cover this up. Okay, I'm going to sew it, then turn it in and sew it around so that it can be neatly finished there. And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and sew it together on the shoulder area and also on the sides before I bring it back to us to show us how we are going to be putting our ruch effect and collar and our sleeve.
Okay, so I've hemmed this keyhole. You can see it. I've hemmed it. I hemmed it with the same fabric, and also the opening I made at the back I turned it out with a bias so that I can have a neat finishing. So this is what this looks like after hemming also. So after doing that, I went ahead to sew them on my shoulder to join the front and back bodies together on the shoulder, and then I went to sew in my side seam. Okay, remember I left 1.5 inch allowance. When I was even shaping it, I shaped more than 1.5 because this fabric is actually very stretchy and I want it to be fitted on the person. So I just had to take more. I had to go
like 2 inches. I subtract 2 inches from the actual measurement so that it can have some form of fitting. So when I finish sewing it, I just went ahead to trim the allowance to 1 inch, because it is this same allowance that I'm going to be using to create casing for my ruch effect. So now that I've finished sewing it on both sides, I've trimmed the allowance to 1 inch. I just have 1 inch allowance there. So the next thing I'm going to do now to create my casing, this allowance that I have here, I'm going to fold it, not the two of them, each one. I'm going to fold one of it like this to my main bodice, and then I'm going to sew it down. And the other side also, I'm going to fold this like this and sew it down, so that I'll have casing where I can pass my rope for my ruch. So now I have done this on this side. You can see that it's lying flat now, and I've sewn it together. So I have like hole here where I can pass my rope. I already made ropes that I'm going to be using for this. I just cut a long, very long strip of fabric, and I sewed it and turned it out. Okay, so it is this rope that I'll be passing through the casing that I have here, so that I can drag it anyhow I want. So I'm just going to go to the machine now and sew the other side by just opening up my allowance like this, and then I'm going to sew it down on both sides. Okay, so before I finish sewing this, I just want to show us the trick on how I'm going to hem the down part so that my rope can come out of it. Okay, so this is it, front and back separately. I did not completely join it up to the last one, so I left like 2 inches for me to be able to hem it. This is the other side also. I left some inches. Okay, so now to hem it, I'm going to hem the front and back separately with my seam allowance still opened like this. So I'm going to fold it like this and hem. So it is when I'm done with hemming that I'm going to fold in my allowance to make my casing, so that at the end of my hemming there will still be this hole where I can pass my rope through. I hope you understand this. What I'm going to do is just to fold in my hem like this and sew it first before I continue my casing. Remember, I'm coming with the casing from here and I stopped. So it's after hemming like this that I'm going to complete my casing, so that I'll have enough hole here to pass my rope through. Okay, and quickly, this is going to be having like a bishop collar. So I already cut the collar. This is the collar that I'm going to be working with, and this collar I'm just going to be sewing it around my neckline like this. It's a turtleneck, so I'm going to be sewing this small collar. The collar is around 1 inch, so I'm going to be sewing it around the neckline like this. I've turned it, I cut through so that I can use it to turn it out. That's why I'm holding them with spring like this, because I'm here to give it a good press. Okay, and also the sleeve is like a balloon sleeve, not too big though, so I've cut out my sleeve also. This is the sleeve. I just cut out the normal sleeve, but on the hemline I took in what I took from the I did not shape it on the hemline. I took the same measurement that is on the upper part all the way to the hemline, so that I have my hemline this big, so that I'll be able to place or gather it. So the measurement here is around 11 inches for the hemline. So I've cut my band. So you use the round sleeve measurement you are working with to cut a band. So this is the band that I've cut. Okay, so this is like 8 or 10 inches. I don't know, let me check. So this is I'm still going to trim this to 10 inches. So I want 10 inches for my, because the round sleeve that I'm working with actually is 7 inches. So around the wrist here, and the person is very slim. So I'm just going to trim it to 10 inches because I'm using 8 as ease, and then these two will be my allowance for both sides, 1 inch. Remember, it's not on fold yet. Okay, so when on fold, I'll have 8 inches for my actual sleeve unfold, and then I'm going to have 1 inch as my seam allowance. So it is the 10 inches that I'm going to gather or pleat this into. Okay, so all of what I have here, I'll be gathering it to fit this band, and then I'm going to turn it over like this. So the width of the band is 7 inches. Okay, so I actually need 3 inches, so I'm going to be using half, the remaining half inch of the 7 inches. This is 7 inches, so I need 6 inches actually. So after sewing the 6 inches will be 3 inches on fold. Remember, this is not on fold yet. So if I put it on fold like this, I will need 3 inches for my actual band, and then the remaining half inch is what I'll be using to fold it in, to hem it in like this, half inch, so that it will be neatly torn on the outside. Okay, so I've hemmed the down part, and I hemmed it separately like I said before I continued so I have this hole to pass my rope. I already passed one of the ropes and it's adjustable, so I'm going to be passing the second one now. What I just need to do is to put a safety pin at the tip of my rope like this, and then I'm going to pass it through one of the holes, and then I'll keep passing it, and it will pass through the other hole like that. Okay, I passed this from the hem line, and okay, so it's from here, and I'm bringing it out on the armhole area like this. So once I bring it out, remember we made 2 casing, I'm just going to pass it through the other casing like this, and then it's a very long rope, so I'm using 1 rope for everything, and I'm passing it up to the armhole area because I want it to be versatile. I want to be able to style it in different ways. If you want your ruch effect to start from the waistline, you just go over to the waistline and then close it up by sewing it here. You close it up like this, so it means you will not be able to drag it up to the armhole area. So wherever you want your ruch effect to start, you just need to go there and make a stitch there so that I can hold it there for you. So I'm going to be passing it down like this also up to the hemline. Okay, so I'll just drag it out. I'm done with it. I'll drag it out to the same length here, and then I'll just adjust it. Okay, so I have my rope on both sides of the dress now. It's now left to me how I want to drag it. I can drag it anyhow I want. So the ruch part is done. Now on the neckline area, I already cut a collar for the neckline, and I'm sewing the collar because I want it to be like a turtleneck. Okay, so that's why I have my 1 inch collar here. Also for the sleeve, already gathered in my sleeve into my 3 inch band like this. So I'm just going to go ahead to sew it together like this, and then attach it to my armhole, and our dress is ready. So the sleeves has been fixed now, and these are the different ways you can style it. You can see it here looking like a blouse, okay, because of the ruch. I dragged it to form this blouse designs, and I'll have like the ruffles around the waist area like this. You can also change this to a dress, so you can have a midi three-quarter dress fitted like this without any ruffles. Okay, so you can have something like this. This is without the ruffle, and you can also drag it like this to give you like a mini dress. Okay, and so I have just little ruffles around this area, so you can drag it as much as you want. Okay, so kindly like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so that I get notification anytime we upload a new video. See you in the next one. Bye.